So, the Drake's Rush set, guys, brand new set that is on the PTS now. Now, it's been on the PTS for 4 weeks. We've had it there, and it's looking to be a very, very useful tank set. So, bashing an enemy, procs major heroism on your whole group. Okay? So, at that situation, very, very nice set to use. And in my opinion, not overpowered either. So, it was a good set, a good looking set. It's heavy armor, which is good because we lack real good heavy armor sets. And it was definitely going to be worth using. And then there's been a kind of a stealth nerf to Drake's Rush, which has reduced the amount of group members that this buff applies to. So now, instead of applying to you plus 11 people, it applies to you plus 3 people. And it's now a completely useless set because you're just not going to use it. It doesn't have good enough reason or value of using it when it only works on 3 people. Now, the big thing to note about this set is the fact that I think it was a very, very well-designed set. And it would have provided to be a good group set, but not too overpowered that it would have caused issues in the game. So, some numbers have been ran and kind of worked out by other people. So over on the ESOU Discord, one of the fellow professors on there kind of worked out the DPS value of having Drake's Rush with the whole group being affected by it. And kind of working out based on their ultimate and how much ultimate damage they do and all of the numbers taken into account, it was kind of worked out that this set would provide around 3 to 4.5% increase in DPS based on people being able to get their ultimate faster. So when we compare that to other gear sets that we might use on a tank, so Yolnahkrin, for example, provides 3% increased DPS. So this would have been somewhere on par with that. And obviously it depends on how quickly people build up their ultimate as well. So if people aren't building their ultimate up very fast, it's going to have less of an effect. R.I.P and Spell Power Cure are somewhere in the region between 5 and 6% DPS increase when used. And then Powerful Assault, again, is a little bit stronger than Yolnahkrin and a little bit weaker than Spell Power Cure. So somewhere around 4-5% DPS increase from Powerful Assault. So we've got all these sets that provide a group buff, and Yolnahkrin and Spell Power Cure are 12 people sets that you can keep up 100% of the time. So this set was going to be an option in a group. Your whole group's affected by it, a 3% DPS increase at its worst. But then you've got to consider as well that this wouldn't have been a set that you can keep up 100% of the time, the same as you can with Yolnahkrin and the same as you can with Spell Power Cure and R.I.P. So this set would have required you to bash on cooldown and remember to bash as well. So the thing you've got to think is it's going to last for 12 seconds and you can proc it every 18 seconds. So you've got the downtime factor. You've then got somebody you're going to have to bash, and you can't just be standing there spamming bash because it's going to be too expensive, especially because you're wearing it and it's heavy armor. The fact it's also got a range-based thing on it, so people have got to be within range of the person using it. I think that it was a very, very well-designed set how it was. So the fact that it's got a cooldown, it's got a period of time where it's not going to be active, and also it's got a range-based factor meant that you would have to be quite precise on how you use it. You'd have to be in a situation where your group's close enough, you're going to have to be on a situation where it's on cooldown, and then you've got to also activate it by bashing. It's not going to be activated automatically. You've got to physically go ahead and bash the enemy to proc it and make it work. So, in my opinion, the set with 11 people or 12 people that can be affected by it was absolutely perfect. If they were going to change anything, the last thing I would have done is reduce the amount of group members it can affect, because at 3 group members with that sort of cooldown and the fact it's a set cooldown rather than an individual person cooldown, this set is just absolutely not worth using anymore. And the reason I'm kind of disappointed by this whole situation is the fact that at the minute there's a lot of beginner players, a lot of newer players, a lot of less experienced tanks coming into content, and especially in terms of trials and things like that. And there's a lot of pressure being put onto those players to run gear sets to buff the group. That's not a problem, apart from the fact that those gear sets happen to be light armor sets and medium armor sets. This really opened the opportunity, and it opened that door for people to tank in heavy armor sets once again, and to be comfortable, and to be able to tank more efficiently, and to be able to play with those heavy armor bonuses that tanks ideally would use. So now we're back at the situation where Alkosh is not really going to be useful on tanks anymore in Magicka groups. We've got the ninja nerf to Drake's Rush, which means that's not going to get used anymore. So now we have a real problem in the game where if you are doing trials and you've got your raid leader who watches YouTube and they see any kind of decent group with experience getting their TikTok tormentors and their god slayers, and they see the off tank wearing powerful assault and martial knowledge or something along those lines where it's a light set, it's a medium set, and they're going to try and replicate that now. And we had a real opportunity with this set to bring in a set that provides a good group buff that's not overpowered, to really bring in that chance to give people to tank properly, safely, comfortably, and enjoy tanking. People don't enjoy tanking, and one of the reasons is the pressure and having to do things and run gear sets that are difficult to tank in. Now, tanking in medium armor isn't a problem for an experienced tank, and when you've done trials many times, and you've run dungeons many times, and you've done Dragonstar many times, you can tank those in medium armor no problem. But the whole point of tanking is supposed to be, you're supposed to be a heavy armor user. That's the whole point of tanking. Everything about heavy armor goes towards tanking. It's related to tanking. So I don't understand why we're forced into this corner now where we're nerfing good sets that aren't overpowered, and we're forcing people into that corner again where they're going to be uncomfortable and running sets that aren't very valuable or useful to a group. On that note, so we've nerfed a set that is useful to a group, useful to the tank. It's not overpowered, it's having to be activated, and it's got a good range on it, all that kind of stuff. We've done that. We've nerfed a set that seemed absolutely fine and perfect, in my opinion. It was a perfect set. It was well made, very good thought put into it, a decent buff, and that's been nerfed. But then when you look at the champion points, you've seen what the champion points are capable of in this same DLC. The champion points are so overpowered in the tank's favour next patch. When we can take 30% less damage just because of the champion points and the heavy armor passives and the base mitigation, that's something that should be nerfed. Not a perfectly good kind of tank set that would have had a good use in the game and would have gave us that real opportunity to bring something new in and bring something new to the table and bring the tanks some extra function and use. Instead now, we've got stupidly OP champion points where we can mitigate so much damage, take so much less damage, and then we're nerfing things that have very minimal effect, that we're going to offer a small DPS increase. Do you know what I mean? So it's very disappointing that this set has had a ninja nerf. I would hope that maybe they will revert it back, because this wasn't mentioned in the patch notes. We can only hope that maybe it's a mistake, or they will see reason behind it, and they'll see reason that, look, if you, I mean, it's not just for trials, like in all sorts of content. I mean, as a tank, your main content is trials, arenas, and dungeons. If you're not doing those three things as a tank, then there's not a whole lot of point in being a tank. Do you know what I mean? And this set isn't going to be used in 4-man groups. It's not going to be used in 12-man groups, and you're not going to use it in an arena. So what's the point? We just keep getting all these trash sets on tanks that just end up not being very valuable, and we just don't use them. So yeah, I mean that's my thoughts on the whole situation. It's disappointing, obviously, the fact that it's just been ninja nerfed and nothing on the patch notes, nothing's been mentioned. I don't understand the reason behind it. Like, I would have liked to have seen it on the patch notes to see, like, the developer comments, why they've decided to reduce this down before it goes to the live server. What I would have preferred to have seen personally, if it was up to me, would have been a reduction of the duration or the increase of the cooldown, or even a reduction of the distance of it, the range of it. So knock it down to 12 meters, maybe increase the cooldown to 20 seconds. There's a lot of other things I would have preferred to have seen happen. But yeah, now obviously this is what we've got. Hopefully it will. I'd love to see it be changed again, but I'm not very confident it will, because I don't believe it will. But yeah, I just it's a shame. It's a real missed opportunity, and I think that now we've got more pain and suffering on the way for the off tanks in the game, that they're going to be forced to run gear and do things that they don't enjoy potentially. And it's just like I say, off tanking in that kind of in the buff sets that we've got currently. So the buff sets that an off tank is going to be using next patch most likely in this situation. Now you're going to see martial knowledge, powerful assault, worm. You're going to see all these kinds of things, and it's just going to make off tanking obviously unpleasant for another patch. Do you know what I mean? Another patch of unpleasantness for anyone who is an off tank. So there we go.